Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to Test Tube Plus today. I'm Trace. This is a show where we take one big topic and we break it into a bunch of bite-sized chunks so that everybody understands it a little bit better, myself included. And this week we're talking about alcohol. It's a pretty big deal. We're going to talk about early human consumption. We're going to talk about how we evolved, maybe, to have alcohol. We have a special guest coming in for that. We're also going to talk about how some people can't drink and prohibition and a whole bunch of other stuff. But first, we need to talk about what is the earliest known consumption of alcohol. So in a study from December of 2014 on the ADH4 enzyme, which is an enzyme that breaks down ethanol or alcohol in our stomachs, researchers found there was a genetic mutation about 10 million years ago that allowed human ancestors an enhanced ability to break down ethanol. Now, why would that happen? The timing is pretty convenient, the scientists say, because that's when ancient ancestors came out of the trees and began to be terrestrial, or, land-dwelling animals. Scientists think that the ability to eat rotting and fermented fruit that fell out of trees was a way to help our ancestors survive once they moved down onto the ground. Now, obviously, rotting fruit wasn't their first choice, but it was an option that some of us could take advantage of. One model of human alcohol consumption suggested that human ancestors began consuming alcohol after they had the ability to store extra food, or basically after the advent of agriculture. About 11,500 years ago, humans living in the Fertile Crescent, which is near modern-day Saudi Arabia, started domesticating crops like wheat and barley. And as their ability to grow more and more sizable crops increased, so too did their ability to turn those crops into alcohol on a year-long basis. The first evidence of beer production, though, that wasn't until the 4th century BCE in the Zagros Mountains, which is in modern-day Iran. In western Iran, researchers identified chemical residues of the earliest known beer, and evidence in nearby caves in Armenia showed that the first wine production started at about the same time. The evidence shows that the domestication of the Eurasian grape happened around 6,000 years ago. Egyptians are pretty famous for having brewed beer and wine, and there's actually wine buried with dead kings of Egypt from around 5,100 years ago. And of course, now it's all over the world. It's brewed in countries across the planet. Everybody's got different varieties and different recipes. But knowing all of that, when it started, why did we do it? I mean, yeah, it gets us drunk, but we'll get to that. But it's also maybe was safer than drinking the water right out of the river. Early alcoholic drinks were pretty minimal in their actual alcoholic beverage percentage, less than 3% of alcohol content. And that is less than like a hard lemonade. It's kind of lame, but early alcoholic beverages were highly nutritious, and they were safer to drink than stored water because of the antimicrobial effects of the alcohol inside of them. In some ancient societies, people would eat the fermented mash byproduct of beer making because that was also highly nutritious, although pretty gross sounding, really. It doesn't smell good either. So today, we still drink this, not because it's, nutritious, but because it can also be maybe good for us. The School of Public Health at Harvard University found that moderate alcohol consumption raises levels of good cholesterol, or high-density lipoproteins, HDL levels. And the higher HDL levels are associated with protection against heart disease. Moderate alcohol consumption has also been linked to things like better sensitivity to insulin, improvements in blood clotting factors. Plus, drinking can actually lengthen your life. A study by the Catholic University of Campobasso found that drinking less than 4 drinks for men or 2 drinks for women per day could reduce the risk of death by 18%. It sounds like a pretty sweet deal. Drinking alcohol in moderation can also improve libido, help prevent against common cold, decrease chances of developing dementia, reduce the risk of gallstones, lower the chance of diabetes. This is an amazing substance. However, again, in moderation. We're not saying go out there and drink it all the time. In a 1920 publication of the Proceedings of the Royal Society of Medicine, William White described alcohol as a pleasant depressant, one peculiarly efficacious in inhibiting peripheral impulses, such as pain here and discomfort there, that it diminishes those trivial worries which bother the sick. In the same publication, another physician wrote, "Alcohol is, I suppose, the most valuable sedative and hypnotic drug we possess for infants and young children." That being said, Test Tube Plus nor Discovery condone the underage drinking that they condoned apparently in 1920. But today we typically view alcohol as like an accompaniment to food, but back in the 20th century, medical professionals were using this and giving it to patients who were suffering fevers and various diseases and afflictions. In some cases, alcohol could comprise as much as 40% of a daily intake of calories for people. It's got a high caloric density at 7 calories per gram, and it's easily absorbed into the bloodstream. This made alcohol ideal for patients who are suffering deliriums or for those who are otherwise unable to eat. Of course, drinking too much alcohol is bad. Like, all the time, it's bad. Don't drink too much alcohol. It's damaging to your body, it's addictive, so forth and so on. But when it comes down to why humans consume alcohol, there's a pretty interesting hypothesis: evolution, which we're going to talk about in the next episode, and I am going to be tagging in my friend, biological anthropologist and primatologist Natalia Reagan, and she's going to come in and talk to us a bit about the drunk monkey hypothesis. You don't want to miss that, so come back tomorrow. Make sure you subscribe for more Test Tube Plus, and tell me down in the comments what your first alcoholic beverage was, if you're old enough to drink. If you're not, don't tell me about it. Thanks for watching Test Tube Plus, everybody, and we will see you tomorrow.